Hello there, everyone. Zantok here with Select Star Gaming, and welcome to another episode here of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. Continuing on from the stream archive footage that I played a while back, but let's go ahead and kick it off to Past Me, who's going to be continuing through the game. Take it away.
A long hallway, huh?
Goddamn. First of all, fuck off adventure mode. Second of all, save the fucking game! Oh my god. It is super tempting to return the title screen right now. Like, honestly, unless somebody tells me, and I'm free to you answering this question, unless somebody tells me that I am within, like, 2 hours of finishing this, then I'm calling it for the night. Because I'm little upset with that last room, little drained, and it is midnight. So, how close are we, Kelly? Or anybody else that knows? Because if it's within, you're going to be 20 minutes away. Okay, in that case, if we're 20 minutes away, let's fucking go then. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The hallway that led the cargo room headed straight toward the stern.
Let's check it out.
Junpei and the other three proceeded down it silently. Some distance along it, a large room opened up on the left-hand side. It looked familiar. An iron grate covered each of the elevators. Junpei and his companions drew to a stop and began to discuss what their next move should be.
We've seen this elevator before.
We got off the one on the left just a little while ago.
Then we went through the number 6 door, and that took us to the engine room.
Yes, and after that we passed through the cargo room.
And now we're back here.
In other words, we made a loop. We're back where we started.
Junpei approached the elevator.
We needed a card to get to this point.
I don't see a card reader here.
Perhaps we aren't able to activate it from this location.
Why don't you just try pushing the button?
Yeah.
Gently, he pushed the triangular button on the wall. A moment passed.
It works.
The elevator door opened and then eventually shut again.
I think so.
Pushing the button had apparently restored power to the elevator.
Good. Now we can go back if we need to.
What do? Should we return to C deck?
No, this hallway keeps going.
Even if we do end up going back, I think we should see what's down there first.
I agree. Let's go.
Their decision made, Junpei and his companions left the elevators behind and continued down the hallway. Sometime later,
Looks like it ends here.
Santa, who had been walking several paces in front of the rest, suddenly stopped.
Only one door.
Different looking door.
There isn't anything else. It's the only way to go.
It was the door or nothing.
All right, let's open it.
Junpei took a deep breath, readied himself, then grabbed the doorknob and pulled the door open. Gun! No? Okay. He paused for a moment, then stepped through into the room. And there he saw the number that had hung over their heads since they'd woken up. Fucking 9.
The 9 door.
Like the numbers on every other door, this one too was a rough shape made of red paint. Its door was set into the back wall of the room. Junpei leapt toward it with a sudden burst of hopeful energy. It was a large double door, heavy and full of solemn importance.
Of course it wouldn't be that easy.
The red sat on the wall next to the door. Displayed on it,
Vacant. Huh. We finally found it.
Junpei felt himself overwhelmed by a torrent of emotion. At last, they found the exit, but cold gripped his heart, and he knew all too well why. As he stood, frozen, unsure of what to think or feel,
Junpei!
Huh?
Look! Behind you!
he spun around and couldn't believe what he saw.
A 9 door. There's another one.
Okay.
Why?
Junpei's voice was barely audible, even to himself. He stumbled toward the second door as if somehow compelled. It was a small single door. It sat in the starboard corner of the room, on the same wall as the door they'd entered from, but in the opposite corner.
It's 9, no matter how you look at it. The red is there too. So this is a real one?
Junpei shook the door handle pointlessly and muttered to himself.
Why the hell are there 2 doors?
It was Santa who answered.
There were always 2 doors. I mean, if you think about it, Zero never actually said there was only one door with a 9 on it.
It is hidden, but an exit can be found. Seek a way out. Seek a door that carries a 9.
Of course, we just assumed that there was only one. After all, why would there be more than one?
Oh, man.
We fell for it. There are 2 doors. That means that all 9 people who had met at the central staircase could escape. No one would be left behind.
If somebody hadn't fucked up!
Now it makes sense why the bracelets are numbers. 1 through 9. Divided into teams of 4 and 5 people. The digital root of both teams ends up being 9. Take 1, 2, 7, 8 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 for example. The digital root for both teams would be 9.
Fuck.
Or 2,
Alright.
4, 9 and 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. The digital root is still 9. There are a bunch of combinations that work and they all end up the same way. If one team has the digital root of 9, so would the other one. What does that mean? The answer's simple. From the very beginning, the Nonary Game was designed to save all 9 people.
Oops.
That's how it was meant to be. Zero didn't lie. He never said there'd be only one 9 door. But anyone who'd found themselves in the game would have assumed that was the case. Fights would have broken out.
Yeah,
One team
yeah.
would likely betray or deceive the other. Someone might be hurt. Someone might get killed. But eventually, they'd reach this very same room and realize how pointless all their infighting was. There were 2 doors. There was no need to kill each other.
Shit. They'd understand and be appalled, overwhelmed with guilt at what they'd done.
This game was designed for that purpose. This Nonary Game. We were all arguing and fighting over doors at the beginning. But if there had been one slip-up, one tiny mistake that led to more, everything could have been so much worse now.
The thought of it sent a chill down his spine.
So, what are we going to do, Junpei?
A voice broke through Junpei's frantic thoughts. Santa's voice.
Oh, right.
Hey, keep it together, man.
Sorry.
Jeez. So what do we do?
What do you...
We need to think about our next step.
Our numbers are 1, 3, 5, and 6. That's a digital root of 6.
The 4 of us can't open the number 9 door.
The 4. Wait. Don't tell me.
Yep. There's one combination that'll let 3 of us open the 9 door.
Fuck.
That's why I'm asking, what now?
What now?
It took him no time at all to determine the answer. There's only one combination of 3 people that would give a digital root of 9. 1 plus 3 plus 5 equals 9. That would mean...
No, we gotta go back.
That wasn't a possibility he was willing to consider. Santa and Ace agreed. I'm kind of surprised that Santa agreed there.
Yep.
I agree. We cannot leave June behind.
Junpei let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding.
Are you sure? I don't mind staying.
June's body betrayed her true feelings. Her eyes were wet with the beginnings of tears, and her legs
It's
shook.
okay. There's no way we'd leave you behind.
Santa had said what Junpei had known the moment he realized which 3 people could go through the door.
Besides, I'd rather drown at the bottom of the ocean than escape with this sausage fest.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get to go to Atlanta.
What?
Are you sure you don't mean Atlantis?
Huh? Oh, right.
Oh my fucking god. He's lost it. He's correct. Perhaps it was a sudden reassurance that no one wanted to leave June behind. But Junpei laughed harder than he had in some time. Santa and Ace smiled.
You guys.
June blinked tears from her eyes and bit her lip. She didn't seem to know what else to say.
Very well. Best we head back to C deck then. We should be able to take the elevator we passed earlier. Perhaps Clover, Seven, and Lotus will have returned from door 1.
Even as they spoke, they knew finding the others wouldn't improve the situation.
But even with all 7 of us,
Ace knew it. They all
Standing
knew it.
around here isn't going to accomplish anything, don't you agree? Let's find the other 3 first, and then search for another solution.
I guess you're right.
All right, let's go.
Ace looked at all 3 of them, then turned and headed through the door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Santa and June followed.
Huh.
Junpei started toward the door, then stopped.
Come to think of it, what is this room?
It didn't seem terribly important now, but what exactly was
We were
it?
so focused on the doors, we didn't even look around.
A red carpet ran between 2 columns of wooden benches that ran the length of the room.
Huh. It looks like it's set up for some kind of ceremony. But what kind?
Sacrifice! Facing the 9 door was the carpet leading to the bow of the ship. And at the end... Yeah, that's a blood sacrifice. Was it an altar, perhaps? There was a small rectangular alcove at the end of the carpet, and inside the alcove was a raised platform. Resting on top of the platform was a coffin.
Huh. A coffin? What on earth is a coffin doing in a place like this?
But before Junpei had time to answer that
Hey,
question,
Junpei, the hell are you doing? Let's move.
I'm investigating a cultist ritual. Get off my back.
Right, okay. I'll be right there.
Junpei turned on his heel and left the quiet, somber room. What? Okay. What the fuck's in the coffin? They took the elevator up to C deck. Once there, they headed back toward the main hall and the central staircase. It didn't take them long.
It's...
Seven and Lotus.
They didn't look happy.
We've got a problem.
Clover is gone.
What?
What?
Junpei and his 3 companions looked at one another. He turned back to Seven and
What do
Lotus.
you mean, gone?
Santa, Ace, and June had their own questions
When?
to ask.
Why?
You 2 went into door 1 with Clover, didn't you?
Or did they? Or did they fucking murder her? Seven and Lotus responded as best they could.
We went through the door together.
But Clover barely spoke to us.
She just did her own thing the whole time.
Huh.
There were 4 rooms on the other side of door 1.
She wouldn't let us into the 4th room.
She just said, I'll take care of this one.
And shut the door.
She must have blocked it with something on the other side.
We waited for a while, but Clover didn't come out.
We called for her, but she didn't answer.
So I kicked down the door and we went into the room.
But
It was empty.
Clover wasn't there.
There was a door on the other wall.
And it was open.
We figure she opened the door and left by herself.
We ran after her, of course, but
Well, obviously we didn't find her. We figured that much out.
Clover's gone.
Junpei thought for a
When
moment.
did this happen?
We got here just before you.
You certainly have excellent timing.
So you haven't searched anywhere other than near the staircase?
No, we haven't.
I'm gonna save. Finally, Ace spoke. His voice had an edge of resolve and concern.
Very well then. We'd best separate and look for Clover. We haven't much time left. Let's begin.
Yeah.
There were quick nods all around, and the 6 remaining players spread out. Junpei and June ran to the large hospital room together. As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and the corners.
She's not here.
No, she isn't.
Alright, just in case, we should go take a look in the shower room.
Shower room?
That's where her brother is. She might have gone to see him.
June bit her lip. She knew as Junpei did that there was only one thing to see in the shower room, and it wasn't pleasant.
You might as well check, right?
There's a screwdriver stuck between the door and the frame.
Good. We can still get in.
We should thank Seven later.
Junpei and June slipped through the door, moved down the hallway, and stepped into the shower room.
No luck.
Yeah, I don't think she's here.
June's voice was faint, and she placed her hands over her mouth. Her face looked a little
The
green.
smell is horrible.
The stench in the room was almost unbearable. It had grown far more unpleasant since their last visit. If Junpei had eaten a lunch, he would have had difficulty retaining it. He wanted to leave the room as soon as possible, but he had to be sure. The only way to be sure was to check the other side of the
Let's check
divider.
back, just to be sure.
June offered no resistance and nodded weakly to Junpei as he headed toward the divider. I saw this LLR that I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything?
No, she's not here.
And, as he'd expected, Clover was nowhere to be seen. The only thing on the other side of the divider was a dead body lying in a reddish-brown puddle of dry and drying blood.
Snake, just where did your sister go?
Junpei whispered to what once was Snake. He asked rhetorically, of course, as there was no way he'd get an answer, and he gave a deep sigh.
Such a horrible way to go. The skull shattered, the left arm's hideously twisted. Huh? Wait.
The bright white of the ulna was clearly visible through the remains of skin and muscle. Here we go. Bright white. Ulna.
Bones.
The pieces fell into place. Junpei remembered something Clover had told him in the laboratory.
My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm.
Fucking knew it.
The accident hurt him really bad.
Of course. Of course. Why didn't I realize it earlier?
Clover had told Junpei that Snake's left arm was prosthetic, but the left arm of the corpse behind the divider was quite clearly a real human arm, or at least it had been once. That meant the corpse...
Junpei?
June's unsure voice at Junpei's sudden strange behavior drew his attention back to her.
Sorry for making you wait. Let's go.
Did they move the ninth man's body and dress him up like Snake? Junpei and June headed back toward the large hospital room. They stepped through the door and out of the shower room. Down the hallway they went, searching for Clover in every corner. They had reached the stairs when... Seven appeared, breathless and yelling.
Junpei! June! Where were you guys?
Investigating? He looked pale and his face was drawn. Something terrible had happened. Junpei's breath caught in his throat.
Did something happen?
Now who's dead? Seven drew a shaking hand across his face and gulped out a breath of air.
Clover is dead.
Okay. Before we had the reveal with Snake, I was kind of suspecting that. But after we saw that a fake was in his dead place, I figured the two of them were running the show together. But clearly that's not happening.
I found her in the first-class bathroom.
All sound ceased for Junpei. The world was an empty, muffled expanse. Then he began to hear his own breathing. June's mouth moved, but he heard nothing. She tried once more, and then her energy was gone and she collapsed against the wall. He could have helped her, but he hadn't, and now she was dead. So he stood there, frozen in place.
Clover, why? Why did this happen?
He forced his body to move. Each step felt like another nail pounded into his heart. Finally, he was in front of her. He knelt and placed 3 fingers against Clover's neck. No pulse. No breath. But she was still warm, and her eyes were closed peacefully. It would have been easy to think she was asleep. Easy, that is, were it not for the slowly expanding puddle of blood beneath her. He traced its source to her back, a gash just beneath her shoulder blade. Was the weapon a knife, perhaps? If it was a knife, the killer had taken it while they left. When he closed his eyes, he saw Clover's smile.
Clover!
Her innocent smile. Her energy. He would never see her smile again.
No way.
He could have done something. He could have helped her. His stomach twisted itself into a sickening knot.
Let's get out of here, June.
Junpei lifted a limp June from the floor and carried her from the bathroom.
Are you alright?
It was a foolish question, and he knew it.
Yes, I think so.
Her voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she'd received were not likely to recede as quickly. Junpei laid his hand on her shoulder, and they walked back to the bedroom.
You should get some rest. Here, the bed. Can you sit?
Yes.
She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room. Ace, Lotus, Santa, and Seven. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while, they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse themselves. When Seven was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the center of it and looked around as the slumped figures gathered there.
Who was the first to find the body?
Me.
Seven spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. Seven's hand was up.
Why did you come to this room?
To look for Clover. Why else? I found her body in the bathroom. As soon as I did, I ran outside. I got to the top of the stairs by the casino and yelled as loud as I could. Hey, guys! I found her, but it's bad. She's in the bathroom in the first-class cabin. Come quick! Or something like that. Then I went back to the bathroom. Ace, Santa, and Lotus showed up real soon after that. But I guess you two hadn't heard me or something because you didn't show. So I took off down the stairs to look for you. After that, I mean, you know the rest, right?
Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to ask.
Seven, there's one more thing I'm worried about.
What?
You stuck one of those plates in between the door and the frame, right? Why did you do that?
Come on, didn't I already tell you that? I did it so that the door wouldn't lock. So we could come back to this room? Oh. You think I did it?
Well, I don't know. That kind of depends on what you say, doesn't it?
I mean, that is pretty fucking suspicious.
For crying out loud.
Seven sighed and shook his head.
Follow me.
There were 2 doors sitting next to another. He opened the one on the right.
A closet?
Yeah.
Seven stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves that filled it and gestured toward a small box. The box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei.
This is the reason. This safe. We couldn't open it when we were getting through this room. I figured there might be something pretty important in it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I figured eventually we might figure out what the numbers are for the safe. And if we did, I didn't want to screw around with door 5 again.
It's fair.
So I put the plate in the exit door so we could get back in that way. You get it now?
Yeah.
Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it.
Figured it wouldn't open.
It was as locked as it had been when Seven found it. There was one change, however.
This is...
Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine, reddish-brown powder.
Rust.
Junpei stared at it, considering.
If there's rust here, that means... Has someone opened the safe?
Junpei left the closet. Seven followed him back to the bedroom.
Huh?
It was cold and quiet. No one spoke. They sat, frozen in place by shock and grief and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and the thick metallic smell of blood filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of there.
Maybe there's another clue. Anything that might lead us to discover who stabbed Clover.
As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners. His eyes caught on the door. The door that led to the passageway of door number 5.
Behind this door. The ninth man's body is behind there. Maybe I should have another look at it, just in case.
Ninth man did have a knife. And we never really saw anything particular happen to it. But 2 people came with us through that hallway. One of them is still alive. Quietly, he pushed open the door.
Yeah.
The smell hit him like a blow to the face.
Oh, the hell? This smell is...
His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetid air. Acid boiled up from the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into a violent froth. It was too much for him and he vomited. A tiny stream of yellow water and bile splattered onto the floor. We really have to see it though? Like, gross. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in an arc around the body. What remained of its intestines had slid onto the floor. The pool of blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken on a texture not unlike that of an egg yolk prepared sunny side up. Why? On the floor next to the broken mask of the man's head lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. The blood stains near them had already dried, like scabs on the floor.
Wait.
That was when he noticed.
It's gone. His bracelet. It's gone. It was right next to the glasses.
But now, it was gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone.
But why?
Had someone taken it? He was turning it over and over in his mind when he heard Seven's voice.
Where'd Junpei go?
It had drifted out to him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway.
Oh, there you are. Were you looking for something in the hallway?
You can say that. Seven looked up as Junpei entered the room.
Did you find something?
More like the lack of something. He thought for a moment before he responded.
No, nothing.
Technically, it wasn't a lie. He hadn't found anything. In fact, that was the problem. Something he'd expected to find hadn't been there. The ninth man's bracelet.
What's up?
Well, I wanted you to take a look at something.
What is it?
Seven led Junpei back to the bathroom. Am I about to get stabbed?
Clover.
As Clover's corpse came into view, he felt his heart flip, and then fell to the bottom of his stomach. Something between a sigh and a groan escaped his lips.
What was it you wanted to show me?
His voice was hollow and empty. I'm about to fucking die.
I searched Clover's body again. A real shame. She was stabbed once in the back, probably by a knife or something. And I found this.
As he spoke, he moved around Clover's head, then knelt down and flipped open her right hand.
What?
She was holding a piece of paper.
I haven't actually looked at it yet. Didn't want to disturb the crime scene, you know? Basic stuff. Well, I did borrow one thing.
What?
He wasn't sure what that meant, but it likely didn't matter. The paper was more important. He picked it up and carefully opened it. There were 2 sentences written on it.
Truth had gone, and truth had gone. Ah, now truth is asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand.
What the fuck?
What is this? Some kind of secret code?
Seven peered over Junpei's shoulder at the note. Junpei stepped away from Clover's body. And into the living room. He began to pace, attempting to decode the note.
Code.
The first clue was likely the phrase, sinister hand. Sinister hand means... What? Truth now truth asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand. I'm gonna guess the left hand because that's the prosthetic of Snake.
sinister was a term used in heraldry that meant to the left of the bearer of a coat of arms.
Sure it does.
The left hand. The left hand. What does the left hand mean?
Junpei looked at his own left hand. Ah, that also makes sense, the bracelet.
Does the darkness of the sinister hand have something to do with the bracelet?
He examined the bracelet closely.
There's two things sticking out on either side of the face. The left and right sides of the face. Left and right. Left and right. Right and left. Truth is gone. Truth gone.
Truth gone. Maybe those two words...
What else could gone and truth mean? Truth, of course, means something that is correct, something that's fact. In other words, something that is right.
Yeah,
You could then safely assume that gone means left. After all, after someone left, they were gone. But in this
True.
case, they clearly refer to their directional homonyms. Then truth equals right, and gone equals left. The left and right of the bracelet. These two things sticking out. So if I...
Press them in the following order. So, looking at this then... It should be right, left, right, left, right, left, right? I mean, that's what makes sense here. That's the only one that really fits the thing. They just say truth and gone back and forth. And then... one after another, 8 numbers flashed on, then off of the face of Junpei's bracelet.
Wait, did it just...
He checked one more time to be sure. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Don't
1,
disappear
4,
yet.
3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Okay.
Huh? Hey, what are those numbers?
Junpei didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He had no idea what they were either. Besides, he was sure he would forget the numbers in the order they came in. No, I won't! If he said anything.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Muttering the numbers to himself over and over, Junpei headed toward the bedroom.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Man, I feel this. Like, if I gotta remember a code, I just fucking repeat it over and over.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
And as soon as somebody says something, I'm just like, fuck, I lost it.
1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1.
Before long, he found himself in front of the safe again. Its lock was the only device he could think of that required a sequence of numbers such as the ones he just discovered. Besides, someone had opened the safe at least once already. Had Clover come to the bedroom to open it? Junpei slowly dialed on the numbers the bracelet had given him.
1 to the right, 4 to the left, and... Oh,
Finished.
bingo. I knew it was for this.
A small telltale sound of a lock opening. He grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and pulled it up.
Oh, is this some sort of note?
Inside was a piece of paper. It was roughly the same size as the one Clover had been holding.
Let's see.
Junpei picked it up. This is what it said. Fact number 1. The Nonary Game was played once before, 9 years ago. Fact number 2. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 2 years ago. Okay. Can't say I'm terribly shocked about that. Fact number 3. It was played by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceuticals CEO, who we know to be Ace. who apparently is named Jintaro Hongo or Hung. Listen, I can't do names. Cradle Pharmaceuticals Chief of Staff. Oh. I assumed that was him, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Nagisa Nijisaki, Cradle Pharmaceuticals R&D Supervisor Teruaki Kubota, and the majority shareholder in Cradle Pharmaceuticals. What the fuck? Kagechika Musashido. Jesus. I must punish them for the innocent lives they sacrificed. Okay, I'm guessing all 4 of them are here. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved. I now state the truth. 0. I'm guessing one of them was Ninth Man. One of them is Ace. Would not shock me if Lotus is another. Huh. There were 5 people waiting for him in the bedroom. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7, and June. He looked at each one of them in turn, and then slowly placed his hands in the pockets of his vest.
Sorry, but do you think you could all come with me?
Come with you?
I want all of you to go to the big hospital room.
Why?
There's something I want to be sure of.
What do you want to be sure of?
I want to know if the person I suspect is really the culprit.
Wait, then you're saying...
Yeah, I think I've got it figured out. I know who killed Snake and Clover.
The atmosphere in the room changed. Grief was suddenly gone, replaced by tension like a strap of leather stretched to its limit as I went to go save the game again. Five sets of eyes stared at Junpei. He pretended not to notice.
If you could all please move to the big hospital room. I'll explain everything as soon as we get there.
Then, almost as if on cue, the bell began to ring. They all heard it. It was the bell from the clock in the main staircase. The bell rang 5 times, then ceased. Holy shit! We've only got an hour left. There was a lot of clock chimes that we never fucking heard.
We don't have a lot of time left. Let's go.
Slowly, one by one, they followed Junpei out of the bedroom.
Actually, before we get started, I was hoping you could do something for me.
Junpei stopped in front of door 3 and turned around.
Ace, 7, and Lotus, could you please place your palms on the red?
Huh?
Why? If we need to get to the shower room, why don't we just...
No, we're not going inside. Once you've authenticated, step away from the door.
Why?
Please, just do it. Or perhaps you don't want to know who killed Snake and Clover.
Junpei's implication was clear, and 7 understood perfectly.
Fine.
What about you, Ace? Lotus?
Very well.
Sure.
Quickly, they pressed their palms onto the red. Once they had finished, they stepped away from the door as Junpei had instructed. 3 asterisks shown from the red's display panel.
I have this idea. I don't think this device responds to a hand placed on it. It instead reacts to a bracelet being brought close. You don't actually need a hand.
Junpei approached it and held his bracelet over the scanner. He made quite sure he didn't place his palm on it, and instead only brought his bracelet near it. The 4th asterisk appeared.
I knew it.
Just as Junpei had expected, it was possible to authenticate without placing one's palm on the red, so long as the bracelet was brought near it. Junpei pulled the lever down. Door 3 opened like a hungry mouth. 9 long seconds passed. And the door shut, unfed. Junpei walked slowly back to the others, who were waiting some distance from the door, talking to one another. Santa and June had joined them as well.
Huh?
It looked as though they hadn't found a chance to break into the conversation yet. As Junpei approached, they turned to look at him, curiosity playing on their faces. Before long, the other three did as well.
What was that about?
How should I know?
Clearly, they were all expecting some
Thanks.
answers.
I appreciate your cooperation.
Clearly, they'd hope for something more forthcoming. He continued.
By the way, Ace, would you mind if I asked you something?
What is it?
Do you know who I am?
Okay.
What? What kind of question?
Just answer it, please. Who am I?
You're Junpei, of course. Who else would you be?
Unfortunately, that's the wrong answer. Actually, I'm Santa.
What?
Well, what?
Ace's voice is full of surprise, but it is also tinged with confusion and fear. Everyone else looked nearly as surprised. Santa looked especially shocked to discover he was actually someone else. If he spoke, however, the trap would be exposed. Junpei quickly continued. Okay, we're fucking up with his face shit.
The clothes I'm wearing, I borrowed from Junpei. And the clothes he's wearing are mine. We had a little swap.
That's ridiculous. Impossible.
So, you're saying I'm not Santa?
Of course you aren't.
Why? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa?
If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. 1 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3 equals 19. 1 plus 9 would be 10. The digital route would be 1.
And that's not because of my face?
But the 4 of us just opened door 3. You can't possibly be Santa. Your bracelet number isn't 3.
It's 5, right?
Huh?
Only then, when it was too late, did Ace realize his mistake. He set his jaw and glared at Junpei.
You're exactly right. My bracelet number is 5.
As he spoke, Junpei lifted his wrist up to show everyone the bright red 5 on his
Sorry,
wrist.
Ace. I tricked you. Of course, I'm not really Santa. I'm Junpei. Who could possibly think I was? It's obvious I'm not. To think I was? Ridiculous. But I guess you couldn't see just how obvious it was. I asked you before, didn't I? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? And you answered. If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. Most people wouldn't say something like that. The first thing that would come to anyone else's mind wouldn't be the bracelet number. There'd only be one thing they'd say. One sentence. You don't have his face. Ace, you have prosopagnosia. Am I right?
Junpei's voice was quiet and calm. He knew the truth. So did Ace.
Prosopagnosia?
The others looked confused.
What's that?
No clue.
Prosopagnosia is...
He heard Lotus begin to explain it to them. Ace glanced at them and then turned back to Junpei and sighed.
Very well. I confess. I have prosopagnosia. I cannot differentiate human faces. Is that what this was about? You want to mock me for my disorder?
No, not at all. I'm not making fun of you at all. In fact, I feel kind of bad for you. No, the reason I brought this up is that there's an excellent chance the person who killed Snake has prosopagnosia.
Ace's face tightened. His eyes narrowed.
What do you mean?
Junpei leaned casually against the iron piping of one of the beds.
I'll just come right out with it. I think it was you, Ace. You killed him.
Junpei was suddenly very aware of 5 pairs of eyes on him. He had their undivided attention now. The room had grown very, very quiet. Junpei took a deep breath.
That's ridiculous. What possible evidence do you...
I have 3 pieces of evidence. The first, think back to a few hours ago. You made us argue over the 3 doors here in the big hospital room. There's no way all 7 people could go through them. Lotus suggested that we sacrifice one of us.
Junpei glanced at her and continued.
Then you, Ace, said, I'll stay here.
Knowing that it wouldn't matter.
Why would you say something like that? It's pretty simple, really. You didn't want us to see the dead body in the shower room. You see, if Ace stayed behind, there were only 2 doors the rest of us could go through. Doors 7 and 8. There was no way we could get through door 3, the shower room. You knew that, didn't you, Ace? That's why you volunteered to stay behind.
Come on now, I think that's going a bit far. I can understand if you're jealous of my bravery, but please don't devalue my actions. I only wanted to save the rest of you. Surely you can understand my altruism.
Altruism, huh?
Junpei stared off into the darkness at something very interesting, and lazily began to dig a persistent bit of wax out of his ear.
You already knew, didn't you? You knew that whichever doors we took, eventually we'd end up back in the big hospital room.
What on earth are you saying? Of course I didn't know that. How could I have?
Really?
Yes, yes.
Pleading was not something they had heard from Ace before. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, and flicked it off into the darkness.
Oh well.
As you do.
I've still got 2 more pieces of evidence that say you're the killer. The second is that, as I said earlier, you have prosopagnosia.
Then you mean to imply that a person who can't distinguish human faces must be a bad person? Junpei, they call that prejudice.
No, I am not that stupid.
Then why?
Well, before I explain, I suppose there's something I should tell you. The corpse in the shower room. It's not Snake's.
Ah, yeah, that's right.
What?
Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well. If the body wasn't
I didn't
Snake's...
put it together right away, but there was something Clover told me. She said that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. He'd lost his real arm in an accident. But the body we saw in the shower room, let's call him Guy X. Guy X's left arm was definitely flesh and blood. In other words, Guy X couldn't possibly have been Snake.
But who was it, though?
No. That's impossible.
Ace had started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring.
Hypothetically, that the killer didn't have prosopagnosia. If that were the case, he would immediately realize that Guy X wasn't Snake. Even if the clothes were the same as Snake's, their faces would be completely different. It would have been obvious they were different people. And yet, they still killed him. Why? Why would they kill a stranger who'd only just shown up? On the other hand, if the killer did have prosopagnosia, it makes sense. They thought Guy X was Snake and killed him.
Wait. Wait just a moment. Let's say you're right, and I mistook Guy X for Snake. Even if I did, I would have had no motive to kill him. Why would I want to kill Snake?
I can think of at least 2 motives. 1, Snake knew about your past. If he ever revealed what he knew, that would have been really bad for you. You really didn't want that to happen. So to make sure Snake's mouth stayed shut, you killed him. 2, Snake had a grudge against you. You knew that, or at least you could have easily assumed he did. Even without exposing your identity, he was a threat to you. You never knew when you might be attacked. You couldn't ever let your guard down. Every moment was a moment he might try something. You didn't want that kind of danger hanging over you. So you...
Hey, hold on a minute.
The first time since the beginning of Junpei's explanation, someone besides Ace spoke.
What's the past that Ace wouldn't want us to know? Why did Snake have a grudge against him?
Look at this.
He handed Santa a small slip of paper.
What's this piece of paper?
Santa squinted at the paper and began to read.
The Nonary Game was played once before 9 years ago. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago.
Snake?
It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceuticals CEO Gentaro Hongo. What is this?
Slowly, Santa looked up from the paper. His eyes met Junpei's.
It's the message from Zero. It was in the safe in the first class cabin.
Then, suddenly...
Give me a break!
Ace's face was red and shaking, and his voice was full of fury tinged with desperation.
That paper is a lie! Someone is trying to frame me!
Me. You said me, right?
Junpei's eyes narrowed, and the trap began to close. Ace inhaled sharply. His eyes flicked off of Junpei to something, anything else.
Wouldn't that mean you're admitting you're Hongo, the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals? Or am I mistaken?
It was as though a switch had been flipped. The color drained from Ace's face, and as he realized what he'd done, his eyes went wide.
Very well. I admit that much. I am certainly the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceutical. Gentaro Hongo. So what if I am? I don't know anything about this Nonary game that supposedly took place 9 years ago. Everything on that scrap of paper is bullshit. Someone is trying to set me up, you see? First of all...
Ace stammered as he tried desperately to work himself to a more tenable position.
Junpei, you're claiming I did this all by myself. Think that over, all right? How could I have killed Snake all by myself?
Not Snake. It was Guy X.
I don't care who it was. You said
Clearly.
the killer put this other man into door 3, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Then I couldn't have possibly done that alone. I couldn't have opened door 3 with only myself and Guy X.
Nope. You could have.
Huh?
What?
Ace's face was tight and his teeth were clenched. Junpei fixed him with a level stare. The trap was about to close.
Actually, Ace, when you were unconscious, I took something from you. Remember when you were injected with that anesthetic and fell asleep in the big hospital room? Yeah, back then, I took this.
Junpei put his hand into his pocket.
No! You couldn't have!
Ace's right hand moved. Junpei smiled.
I got you, Ace. Your right hand there tells me all I needed to know. You want to tell me what you were so worried about?
What's in your pocket?
It's the number 9 bracelet, isn't it? Ace, Guy X, and the 9th man's bracelet. That was all you needed to open door 3.
1, 2, and 9 becomes 12, becomes 3.
That's how you killed Guy X all by yourself, Ace. All you needed was the number 9 bracelet in your chest pocket.
Ace lowered his hand from where it had stopped, halfway to his pocket. He looked down at the floor, his face hidden from Junpei. All he could see was the corner of Ace's mouth, twitching like a dying fish.
If you want to play innocent, that's fine by me. Go ahead, tell me. I don't have the bracelet, if that's what you want to do. But if you could take off your coat and hand it to me, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll have to take it from you by force. Right, 7?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure.
7 cracked his knuckles with a sound like gunfire. Are we about to have the Ace Attorney villain turn? Or is our sprite about to go completely fucking nutso? He threw his arms wide and his head back and laughed, filling the room with a sound that scarcely belonged there. Then, it stopped. His arms came down and his head dropped to look straight ahead at Junpei. His face was flat and cold, devoid of any emotion.
Well done, Junpei. As you so correctly deduced, I have the number 9 bracelet. I retrieved it while we were searching for the missing hardware for the Red. I left the room I was supposed to search and headed to the first-class cabin on B deck.
His voice showed no emotion, no sense of remorse or interest. It was almost bored, as though he were reciting an especially dull corporate letter.
My purpose was to obtain the number 9 bracelet. 9 is a potent ally in the Nonary. Adding 9 to any set of numbers won't alter the digital root.
Yeah?
As you can see, 9 is a very useful number. With it, one can go anywhere, with anyone. It is, I suppose you could say, a game changer. So I made for the first-class cabin to obtain it. In mere moments, I successfully acquired the number 9 bracelet. There was also an unexpected bonus. The knife the 9th man had used. I quickly pocketed both of them and left. I made my way back to where I was expected to be. That's when I ran into Snake. Well, this guy X, actually. I spotted him ahead of me. He was heading for the large hospital room and hadn't noticed me. The man wearing Snake's clothes arrived at door 3. When he stopped, I walked up behind him and called out, "Snake." He turned around. He said nothing. His mouth simply hung half open. He seemed dazed somehow, almost like a man half asleep. Perhaps he had been drugged. It wasn't important. I tend to gloss over little things like that. I was certain that man was Snake. I knew Snake had taken part in the Nonary Game 9 years ago. Being blind, it made sense that he didn't recognize me immediately upon our first meeting.
I'm kind of surprised you did, though, because that would have been... He would have been 9 years of change to a person. And it wouldn't have been wearing the same clothes, so you couldn't just sit down in the face or anything. How did you know it was him?
But why then? Hadn't Snake said anything to me later? Surely he hadn't forgotten what had happened to him in the Nonary Game. But not once did he attempt to confront me. Did his lack of sight prevent him from fully recognizing who I was? Or perhaps Snake had conspired with Zero to deceive me? Regardless, he was a threat, and it was better to deal with him sooner rather than later. I had to get rid of him before he took action. With quick thinking, my plan went into motion immediately. I held the number 9 bracelet over the red. I waved my own bracelet in front of the red, and then grabbed Snake's arm and shoved his hand against the scanner panel. The door opened. I threw the man through it. 9 seconds later, the door shut. 81 seconds passed.
The man inside the door passed away. I don't know if we can really call that passing,
I
but
returned to
alright.
my post as though nothing had happened. After conducting my own search, I returned to the large hospital room when the 1 a.m. bell rang.
Ace's eyes were cold, and his cheeks were hollow and pallid. When he spoke, only his lips and tongue moved. The rest of his face was eerily still. Junpei glared at Ace. He took a deep breath and thought about the next question he had to ask. He didn't want to. He knew what the answer would be. He just didn't want to hear it. Junpei swallowed and then
Ace,
spoke.
did you kill Clover?
Yes.
Why?
She was Snake's sister. It was possible he had told her something dangerous. Additionally, she had gone through door 1. It seemed likely she might have found it.
Found what?
Why don't you go through door 1 yourself? Perhaps it's hidden somewhere.
Seven and Lotus interrupted.
Yeah, but Lotus and I went through door 1 too.
We didn't see anything suspicious.
Yes. I thought as much after I heard your report at the central stairs. I doubt the two of you could find it.
Huh?
But perhaps Clover was different. Perhaps she had found it. I was, therefore, desperate to find her. And at last I did, in the first-class cabin. I spoke very calmly. Did you see it?
See what?
Don't act as if you don't understand. You were in the captain's quarters, weren't you?
Uh-huh. What are you talking about?
Very well. By the way, what are you doing here, Clover?
What? Nothing.
There's blood on your shoes. It looks... Did you go take a look at the 9th man's corpse? I see. Your silence suggests that you noticed. You saw something, didn't you? You saw that his bracelet was gone.
No!
Clover ran. She made for the exit, but Ace stood in her way.
You aren't going anywhere.
He caught her by the collar as she passed, and threw her to the floor hard.
You're staying here.
No!
She leapt back up and darted past him into the hallway. Ace followed at a run.
Don't you run, little girl.
He was faster.
That was how I killed Clover.
His face hadn't changed. If he felt guilt or remorse or anything one might feel after taking the life of another human being, it didn't show.
You son of a bitch!
Seven's whole body trembled with rage and his voice rumbled with hate. All the dots. Santa's eyes were bloodthirsty and Lotus and June's faces were distorted by anger and hatred. Ace looked at them and smiled. It was a cold, cruel thing with no humor in it. He shook his head and sighed.
I admit it. I've lost. I have lost. Completely and utterly.
Lost your goddamn mind!
Don't misunderstand, Junpei. I didn't lose to you. I lost to Zero. Not you.
What if I am Zero?
I'm rather disgusted with myself for falling into such a simple trap. I looked the fool. And it was a trap. Make no mistake. I was trapped and manipulated by Zero. The man I killed in the shower room? If he wasn't Snake, then I have no idea who he was. But he was wearing Snake's clothes. And that was no coincidence. He had also been injected with something that reduced his cognition and prevented him from identifying himself or resisting me. And we can't forget the components that were removed from the red before we arrived. I have no doubt that Zero planned all of this.
And
Zero
he's
made
probably
sure
Snake.
I would kill that man. It follows, of course, that Zero knew everything I would do. That I would try to take the number 9 bracelet. That I would try to kill Snake. Everything.
Suddenly, Junpei remembered the paper he'd found in the safe. He remembered the last words Zero had written on it. I must punish them for the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved, I now state the truth. Zero. And he remembered their other words, words he'd heard from Clover.
I think Zero is one of us.
Huh?
One by one, Junpei looked at the 5 people standing in front of him. Ace, Santa, June, 7, Lotus.
Zero is one of us? No. Wait. There's one more person. Snake. The man who died in the shower room isn't Snake. That means he's almost certainly still alive. Maybe Snake is Zero. Maybe he made Guy X wear his clothes so that we'd all think he was dead. Where's Snake now? What if he's off somewhere laughing at us? If he is Zero, he must have been lying to us about everything else. Is he watching us?
Well, I believe I've finished with my confession. Why don't we get moving?
Not before I save again. Because a lot happened there. Alright, and I think that's going to be a good stopping point here for today's episode. According to these absent facts, so I don't really know strictly what I just did. But I hope you enjoyed what we just saw. And tune in for the next episode of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. See you all next time. Bye, everyone.